Hello, this is Ms. DB. In this video we are going to go over how to do a few of the problems from the Write and Solve Proportions assignment. Our objective is to write and solve proportions and also to solve real-world problems with proportions. Remember that there is a reading assignment in your textbook that matches this assignment, so be sure to go there and read through that information and the examples, and there's more videos there as well. Alright, number 1, it says give an example of a true proportion that uses the numbers 5, 1, 6, and 30. And remember that cross products need to be equal in a proportion. You'll see this in the first couple paragraphs of the reading. So, for example, this would be a wrong answer. If I wrote 6 over 1 equals 5 over 30. This is not a proportion because those ratios would not simplify to the same thing. That's one way you could look at it. Or because cross products would not be equal. 6 times 30 is not equal to 5 times 1. So they have to be arranged so that it's a true proportion, not just any which way. In number 2, it says identify the means and the extremes. So 2 of these are the means and 2 of them are the extremes. That's also in the reading, very close to the beginning, so you can find that as well. Now in the next section, there is more than one way to solve a proportion. For example, you could look for equivalent fractions in something like 3. You might say 8 times what equals 16, so something times the same number has to equal 12. But it's really a good practice to get used to using cross products. And the way you use cross products is probably not the same way that you learned way back in 4th or 5th grade. You don't just find 2 numbers, multiply them, and then divide by the other number. You really need to write an equation. So cross products property says that these 2 numbers multiplied will equal these 2 numbers multiplied. So we're going to write that out. N times 16, or I can write 16n, is equal to 8 times 12. Now the more work you show on your assignment, the better, because then if you get the wrong answer, I can look back at your work and help you figure it out. I don't specify in this assignment that you have to show your work for full credit, but in many of our assignments you will have to. So then you figure out what 8 times 12 is. 8 times 12 is equal to 96. My calculator is very large. And then you would take and figure out how do you solve for n. If you have 16 times n is equal to 96, well, you would divide both sides by 16. So 96 divided by 16 is equal to 6. So then you would write your answer as n equals 6. You can type these, you can print this worksheet and fill it out with a pen or pencil and take a picture, or you could look at this worksheet and then do your answer on another piece of paper. So there's lots of problems to practice. There is a video explaining how to do problems like 9 and 10, but I will go ahead and look at 9 with you as well. So cross products property says that this times this equals this times this. So I'm going to write that out. 1 times 3 equals 2 times, in parentheses, c plus 5. And then 1 times 3 is 3. We can simplify the left side. On the right side, in order to simplify this, you have to use the distributive property. So you'd have 2 times c plus 2 times 5. And 2 times 5, you could write 2 times 5, or I could have done that part in my head, 2c plus 10. So now you have an equation to solve, and we'll practice solving equations more in a couple weeks. But you probably know how to solve that equation. You would have to subtract 10 from both sides, and then you would have to divide by 2. You will get a decimal. So if you have more than just one letter, one variable, or more than just one number, then you'll be using the distributive property to simplify. Number 9 is not done. You'll need to finish it. In the next section, you need to choose 6 problems to do from 12 through 21, or you can do more for extra credit. Set up a proportion to solve each word problem, write your proportion, and show your work for full credit. So in this section, if you just put the answer, you'll lose points on your assignment. So you need to show me what proportion you used and show your work. Let's look at number 13. Shannon's bicycle travels 50 feet for every 3 pedal turns. How many pedal turns are needed to travel 1 mile? And then they tell us that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So you're going to set up a proportion. A proportion is 2 ratios that are equal to each other. The first ratio is given to us. 50 feet for every 3 pedal turns. I'm going to write that down. I'll just use, I guess I can write it pedal turns. And that will be equal to another ratio. So let's see, on the top we put her distance, and on the bottom we put the pedal turns. When you write your other ratio on the other side, you have to keep the distance on the top because that's how we put it in our first ratio, and on the bottom will be the pedal turns. Well, we don't know the pedal turns, so that will be our variable. You can use any variable you want. You can just stick with X, or you can pick P for pedal turns or something else. Now let's see what other information do they give us. How many pedal turns are needed to travel 1 mile, which is 5,280 feet. That is our distance. This is the proportion you would set up, and then you would solve the proportion in order to answer the question. So again, your assignment is to write the proportion and then to solve it to find the answer. So to solve it, you would do cross products are equal. So 50x equals 3 times 5,280. So 50x equals, and then you have to find out what is 3 times 5,280. And it's 15,840. And then we would solve this by dividing each side by 50, and then we will be able to answer our question. All right, 15,840 divided by 50. 316.8. 316.8. And this is pedal turns. You should label these with what you are answering. So there would be full credit for number 13. I have the proportion, I showed my equation that I got when I did cross products, and I have the answer. And you, again, need to pick 6. You can pick the same one that I just did if you want, and then pick 5 more to complete. I'm just scrolling through to see if anything is much different. Most of them are the same exact thing, maybe all of them. You're going to write a proportion. They give you one of the rates, one of the ratios, and you need to find the other ratio, set it up so that you are able to make, oh, this one is a mistake. It takes 1 cup of mix and 3/4 cups of water to make 6 pancakes. So that one was a typo. It said 34 cups of water, which would be the runniest pancakes in the world. I don't think you could even call them pancakes with 34 cups of water to 1 cup of mix. I think that was the only one. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. Do your best and have a wonderful day.